What happens when a Hollywood legend sits down for what should be a routine interview, only to discover the host has prepared something so inappropriate, so deeply personal, that it crosses every line of decency? Tonight, we're diving into one of the most shocking moments in late-night television history, when Clint Eastwood, the man who never backs down from anything, found himself pushed so far that he did something nobody saw coming. This is the story of how Jimmy Fallon managed to turn a simple promotional interview into a complete disaster that had the entire studio in stunned silence. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think about talk show hosts who cross the line. Trust me, after you hear what Fallon said to Eastwood, you'll have some strong opinions. The Tonight Show studio was buzzing with its usual pre-show energy. Clint Eastwood had agreed to appear on Jimmy Fallon's show to promote his latest directorial project, something he rarely did anymore at his age. The veteran actor and filmmaker had always been selective about his television appearances, preferring to let his work speak for itself. But his publicist had convinced him that a quick appearance on The Tonight Show would help reach a broader audience. Eastwood sat in the green chair across from Fallon, his weathered hands folded calmly in his lap. The audience was clearly thrilled to see the legendary actor, their applause lasting longer than usual as Fallon introduced him with his trademark enthusiasm. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Clint Eastwood," Fallon announced, his smile wide as he gestured toward his guest. Eastwood acknowledged the crowd with a subtle nod, his expression remaining characteristically stoic. He had done thousands of interviews over his decades-long career, and this felt like it would be just another routine conversation about his craft and his latest film. "Clint, thank you so much for being here," Fallon began, settling into his chair with what seemed like genuine excitement. "I have to say, I've been a fan since I was a kid. The Dollars trilogy, Dirty Harry, Unforgiven, and now you're still making incredible films well into your 90s. It's just amazing." "Well, I appreciate that, Jimmy," Eastwood replied in his familiar gravelly voice. "I've been fortunate to work on projects I believe in, with people I respect. That's what keeps me going." The interview started normally enough, with Fallon asking about Eastwood's latest film, his approach to directing, and his thoughts on how Hollywood had changed over the decades. Eastwood answered each question thoughtfully, sharing insights from his vast experience in the industry. The audience was engaged, hanging on every word from the cinema icon. "You know, Clint, I've always wondered," Fallon said, leaning forward slightly. "You've played so many tough guys, so many characters who don't take anything from anyone. Is that who you really are? Or is that just good acting?" Eastwood raised an eyebrow slightly, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Well, I suppose I don't suffer fools gladly, if that's what you're asking. But I'm not walking around looking for fights, if that's what you mean." Right. Fallon nodded. But there was something different in his tone now. Something that hadn't been there moments before. "But you have had your share of confrontations over the years, haven't you? I mean, there was that whole thing with your ex-wife. And then there were those rumors about what happened on set with some of your co-stars." The change in Eastwood's demeanor was subtle but noticeable. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, and his eyes sharpened with the kind of focus that had made him famous in countless westerns. "I don't know what you're referring to, Jimmy. I've always tried to conduct myself professionally." But Fallon wasn't backing down. In fact, he seemed to be warming up, as if he had been building toward this moment from the beginning of the interview. "Come on, Clint, we're all friends here. I mean, there were those stories about you being, let's say, difficult to work with. Some people have called you controlling, demanding. There was that incident with the director on Gran Torino, and then there were whispers about how you treated some of the crew members on your films." The studio audience began to sense that something was shifting. The comfortable atmosphere that had characterized the first part of the interview was giving way to something more tense, more uncomfortable. Eastwood's posture remained relaxed, but those who knew him well would have recognized the warning signs in his eyes. "Jimmy, I think you might have some bad information there," Eastwood said carefully. "I've worked with the same crew members for decades. They keep coming back to work on my films because we have a good working relationship built on mutual respect." Sure, Fallon continued, but his tone had taken on an almost mocking quality. "But what about your personal life? I mean, you've been married multiple times, you've had relationships that ended badly." Some people might say you have a pattern of treating people poorly when you're done with them. The audience was now clearly uncomfortable. This wasn't the light-hearted entertainment they had come to expect from The Tonight Show. Eastwood's publicist, who was watching from backstage, started moving toward the stage manager, clearly concerned about where this was heading. Eastwood leaned back in his chair, his expression hardening. "Jimmy, I came here to talk about my film, not to discuss my personal relationships. I think we should stick to why I'm here." But Fallon seemed emboldened by Eastwood's obvious discomfort. "Oh, come on, Clint. The audience wants to know the real you. They want to know what it's like to be Clint Eastwood when the cameras aren't rolling. And from what I've heard, it's not always pretty." "What exactly have you heard?" Eastwood asked, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet that anyone familiar with his films would have recognized as a warning. Fallon grinned, clearly thinking he was being clever, clearly not understanding that he was about to cross a line that should never be crossed. "Well, I talked to some people who worked with you, and they had some interesting stories. Stories about tantrums, about you humiliating people in front of the whole crew, about you being, let's just say, less than professional with some of your female co-stars." The studio fell completely silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause as everyone processed what Fallon had just said. Eastwood's eyes went cold, colder than they had ever been in any of his most intimidating movie roles. "Jimmy," Eastwood said, his voice now carrying the kind of menace that had made him famous, "I think you need to be very careful about what you're saying right now." But Fallon, either not understanding the gravity of the moment or simply too committed to his path to turn back, pressed on. "I'm just saying what everyone in Hollywood has been whispering about for years. Maybe it's time someone finally asked you directly about it. Jimmy, you have 10 seconds to apologize and change the subject, or this interview is over." Fallon laughed, actually laughed, as if Eastwood's warning was some kind of joke. "Oh, come on, Clint. You're not going to storm off like some diva, are you? That would just prove my point." "Your point?" "That you can't handle being challenged. That you're used to everyone just kissing your ass because you're Clint Eastwood. You think that's what this is? A challenge? Isn't it? I mean, you've spent decades having everyone treat you like some untouchable icon. Maybe it's time someone asked the hard questions." "The hard questions? Jimmy, you're not asking questions. You're making accusations based on gossip and rumors." "Are they rumors, though?" "Because I have to tell you, the things I've heard are pretty specific. Like that time on the bridges of Madison County when you supposedly made Meryl Streep redo her crying scene 15 times because you said her tears weren't authentic enough. That never happened. Or what about Annie Corley? She was in the gauntlet with you, wasn't she? She had some interesting things to say about how you treated the female cast members. Annie Corley has never said anything negative about me publicly." "Publicly, no. But privately, that's a different story." "You're lying." "Am I?" "Because she specifically mentioned an incident where you cornered her in her trailer and made some very inappropriate comments." Eastwood's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "That is absolutely false, and you know it." "Do I know it? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds exactly like something you'd do. The powerful director, the vulnerable actress, the isolated location shoot. Jimmy, you are walking into very dangerous territory right now." "Dangerous for who? For me? Or for you when the truth comes out?" "There is no truth to come out because none of this happened." "But it did happen, didn't it, Clint? Maybe not exactly as I described, but something happened. Something you don't want people to know about." "Nothing happened." "Then why are you getting so angry?" "I'm not angry. I'm disgusted." "Disgusted? That's interesting. Are you disgusted at me for asking, or disgusted at yourself for what you've done?" "I'm disgusted that someone would invite me on their show under false pretenses and then ambush me with fabricated stories." "Fabricated? That's a strong word. Are you saying all these people are liars?" "I'm saying you're a liar, Jimmy." The audience gasped. Fallon's smile faltered for just a moment before returning. But now it looked forced. Almost manic. "Wow, okay. So now I'm a liar for doing my job as a journalist." "Your job as a journalist?" "Jimmy, you host a comedy show. You play games with celebrities and do stupid skits. Don't pretend you're some kind of investigative reporter. Maybe I'm expanding my horizons. Maybe it's time The Tonight Show started asking the questions that matter. And you think ambushing guests with false accusations matters? I think holding powerful men accountable matters. I think giving voice to the people you've silenced over the years matters. What people have I silenced? The ones who were afraid to speak out because of your reputation, because of what might happen to their careers if they crossed Clint Eastwood. That's paranoid nonsense. Is it? Because I have to ask, what happened to Sandra Locke? Eastwood went very still. What did you just say? Sandra Locke, your longtime partner, both personally and professionally. What happened to her career after she tried to break away from you? Sandra and I had creative differences. It happens in this business. Creative differences? Is that what you call it when you blacklist someone from Hollywood? I never blacklisted anyone. No, because Sandra seemed to think you did. She had some very specific allegations about how you used your influence to make sure she couldn't get work. Sandra had her own problems. Her career difficulties had nothing to do with me. Really? Because she filed a lawsuit saying otherwise. She claimed you sabotaged her career out of spite. That lawsuit was settled. Settled, yes, but not denied. You paid her money to go away and keep quiet, didn't you? That's not how settlements work, Jimmy. Isn't it? You pay someone enough money, and suddenly they can't talk about what you did to them. Seems like a pretty convenient system for someone with your resources. You're twisting everything. Am I? Because it seems like there's a pattern here. Women get close to you. They work with you. They trust you. And then when things go bad, somehow their careers suffer while yours continues to thrive. That's not true. What about Sandra Locke's allegations about the abortions? Stop. She claimed you forced her to have 2 abortions and then got a tubal ligation. That's pretty controlling behavior, wouldn't you say? Jimmy, I'm warning you. Warning me? See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The intimidation. The threats. Is this how you handled Sandra when she tried to speak out? You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Because these are her words, Clint, not mine. She said you were controlling, manipulative, that you used your power to dominate every aspect of her life. Sandra had issues. Issues? Or did she just have the courage to finally tell the truth about what you're really like? The truth? Jimmy, the truth is that you've done no research, you've fact-checked nothing, and you're just throwing out wild accusations hoping something sticks. The truth is that you've been getting away with this behavior for decades because everyone in Hollywood was too afraid to call you out. There's nothing to call me out for. No? Then explain to me why so many people have the same stories about you. Explain to me why Sandra Locke would lie about something so serious. I'm not explaining anything to you. Because you can't, can you? Because deep down you know that some of this is true. None of it is true. Come on, Clint. We're all adults here. You can admit that maybe you weren't always the good guy in these situations. I don't have to admit anything to you. But you do, don't you? I mean, if you're innocent of all these things, wouldn't you want to clear the air? Wouldn't you want to defend yourself properly? I am defending myself. By denying everything? By refusing to engage with the specifics? That's not a defense. That's avoidance. It's not avoidance when the accusations are baseless. But are they baseless, Clint? Because I have to tell you, talking to the people I've talked to, reading the depositions from the Sandra Locke case, looking at the pattern of behavior over the years, it paints a pretty disturbing picture. What depositions? That case was sealed. Was it? Because information has a way of getting out, doesn't it? Especially when people are ready to finally tell their stories. Eastwood stood up slowly, his movement deliberate and controlled, like a predator preparing to strike. The entire studio fell silent as he towered over Fallon, who suddenly seemed to realize he might have pushed too far. Sit down, Clint. We're not done here. Oh, we're done, Jimmy. We've been done since you decided to turn this into a tabloid hit piece. I'm just asking questions that need to be asked. No, you're spreading lies and calling it journalism. There's a difference. Are they lies, though? Because everything I've said tonight can be verified. Verified by who? Your mysterious sources? Your sealed depositions that somehow aren't sealed anymore? By people who were there, Clint. People who saw what you really are when the cameras weren't rolling. And what am I, Jimmy? According to your crack investigation, what exactly am I? You're a bully. You're someone who uses their power to hurt people, especially women, and then hides behind lawyers and NDAs to keep them quiet. That's enough. Is it? Because I think we're just getting started. I think there's a lot more to unpack here. Ron, there's nothing to unpack because none of this is real. You've constructed this entire narrative out of gossip and speculation. Have I? Because I also have some information about your relationship with your daughter, Francesca. Some pretty troubling stuff about how you treated her when she was trying to make it in the industry. Eastwood's eyes went dead cold. Do not mention my children. Why? What are you afraid I'll find out? Jimmy, I'm going to say this once. Do not bring my family into this. But they're already in it, aren't they? I mean, your relationship with your kids has been pretty rocky over the years. There was that whole custody battle with Francis Fisher, and then there were those reports about you being absent from your children's lives. That's it. Eastwood started removing his microphone, his movements sharp and angry now. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where are you going? I'm leaving. You can't just leave in the middle of an interview. Watch me. Clint, sit down. We need to finish this conversation. There is no conversation, Jimmy. There's just you making wild accusations based on nothing. Based on nothing? I have documentation. I have witness statements. I have a pattern of behavior going back decades. You have lies. Prove it. Stay here and prove it. Defend yourself like a man instead of running away. Eastwood stopped and turned back to face Fallon, his expression more dangerous than it had ever been in any movie. Like a man? Jimmy, if you want to see what I'm like as a man, keep pushing. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You've spent the last 20 minutes attacking my character, my relationships, and now my children. You've crossed every line of decency and professionalism. I've asked tough questions. You've told lies. Then sue me. Maybe I will. Good luck with that. Truth is an absolute defense. Truth? Jimmy, you wouldn't know the truth if it walked up and introduced itself to you. The truth is that you're a controlling, abusive man who's spent decades hurting people and getting away with it because of your fame. And the truth is that you're a failed comedian who's so desperate for ratings that you'll destroy a man's reputation with fabricated stories. Failed comedian? I host The Tonight Show. And you're doing a piss-poor job of it. The audience gasped again. Some people started applauding, others looked uncomfortable, and a few began heading for the exits. You know what, Clint? This is exactly what I expected. When confronted with the truth about yourself, you resort to personal attacks and intimidation. Personal attacks? Jimmy, you just spent 20 minutes personally attacking me with lies and gossip. I asked legitimate questions about your behavior. You assassinated my character on national television. I gave you a platform to defend yourself. You gave me an ambush. And now you're proving everything I said by storming off like a child. Eastwood stopped again, his hand on the edge of the set. Like a child? Yes, a child who can't handle being called out for his bad behavior. Jimmy, in my entire career, I have never walked off a set, never walked out of an interview, never lost my temper in public. You have managed to accomplish something that nobody else in 50 years has been able to do. And what's that? You've shown me what happens when someone has absolutely no integrity, no professionalism, and no respect for their guests or their audience. I have plenty of integrity. No, you don't. You invited me here under false pretenses, you ambushed me with lies, and you've spent the entire time trying to destroy my reputation for your own entertainment. I'm holding you accountable. You're holding me accountable? For what? For having a successful career? For working with talented people? For making films that matter? For hurting people along the way? I have never hurt anyone the way you've hurt me tonight. Oh, please, you're Clint Eastwood. You'll be fine. Will I? Jimmy, you've just accused me of sexual harassment, abuse, blacklisting, and controlling behavior. You've dragged my ex-partners and my children into this circus. You think that doesn't have consequences? If it's not true, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter? Jimmy, we live in a world where accusations stick, regardless of their truth. You know that. Everyone knows that. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you did the things you did. I didn't do anything. So you say. So I know. Well, we'll see, won't we? I have a feeling this conversation is going to open up a lot of doors for people who have been waiting to tell their stories about you. Eastwood stared at Fallon for a long moment, his anger replaced by something that looked almost like pity. Jimmy, you have no idea what you've just done, do you? I've done my job. You've destroyed whatever credibility you had as a host. You've shown your audience that you're willing to attack a guest with unsubstantiated allegations. You've proven that you're not a journalist, not a comedian, and certainly not a decent human being. And you've proven that you can dish it out, but you can't take it. Can't take what? Lies? Slander? Character assassination? You're right. I can't take that, and I won't. So you're leaving. I'm leaving. Running away. No, Jimmy. I'm making a statement. I'm showing everyone watching that there are still some people in this world who won't sit quietly while someone tries to destroy them with lies. Good luck explaining this to your fans. My fans know who I am. They've had 50 years to judge my character through my work and my actions. They don't need your version of the truth. We'll see about that. Eastwood walked toward the edge of the set, then stopped one final time. Jimmy, I want you to remember this moment. Remember it when your show gets canceled, when your reputation is ruined, when people realize what kind of person you really are. You went too far tonight. And everyone watching knows it. Get out of here, old man. Your time is over anyway. Eastwood looked back at him with something that might have been sadness. My time may be over, but at least I've spent it with dignity. Can you say the same? And with that, Clint Eastwood walked off the Tonight Show set, leaving Jimmy Fallon sitting alone at his desk as the audience sat in stunned silence. Many of them beginning to boo the host who had just destroyed one of Hollywood's last living legends with nothing but lies and malice. The cameras kept rolling as Fallon tried to salvage the moment, but the damage was done. Everyone had seen what happened when a talk show host decided that destroying a guest was more important than entertaining an audience. What do you think about talk show hosts who cross the line like this? Should there be boundaries that guests can expect won't be crossed? Or is everything fair game once someone sits in that chair? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories from Hollywood's biggest moments.